doesn't matter whether you're old or young. Sometimes in life, we wonder if we're on the right path. Now, I know a lot of musicians watch my channel, but this is something that everyone can relate to. We often wonder, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? Is this where I need to be? Is this the job that I need to be in? Is this the gig that is right for me? Am I where I am supposed to be? There never is really a clear answer. I had a strange dream last night. I dreamt that I was going back to college. Now, I am 58 years old, and I'm way past the point of that, being, an option. It's just not a viable option to spend thousands of dollars for what? And the funny thing is, I remember it was sort of a college that was, say something like MTSU. MTSU is a college in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I was living in Nashville, and MTSU is like 40 minutes away from Nashville. And it was like I was going there to enroll in college. And I sat there with the counselor or the professor, and I'm telling them, well, I've been on tour. Well, I've played on sessions. Well, I've played in clubs. Well, and I'm telling him all these things, and he's realizing that he hasn't done any of those things. Well, I've got, gold records, and I've got a platinum single, and I've done this. And I can see in his eyes that, well, why are you here? But he's not telling me that because he obviously wants, me to enroll and, make money for the college. And, there's been so many times in my life where I wondered, am I in the right place? Am I in the right situation? If I had moved to LA straight out of high school, instead of going to 2 years of college and then dropping out, I would have gotten to Los Angeles quicker. I would have had a couple more years to navigate the Sunset Strip scene, and who knows what could have happened. But, I don't know, if that would have been the right path. Maybe I needed to go to college for a couple of years and get a little bit of education and get that experience of, playing in some, meeting new people and playing in bands and getting, living with roommates and all those things that you kind of learn in college. But, there's been times, there was a slow period in Nashville. Nashville was not always the boom town that it is now. And when I first moved there from LA, leaving LA, where I could tell the scene was fading off in 94, it was not the same place that I'd moved to in 1986. And, I had to make the decision to move to Nashville. But when I got to Nashville and realized, man, this isn't really what I imagined. I imagined a lot more going on. And at the time, man, Nashville, yeah, it always had its country music industry, and it always had it had CMT and stuff at the time, and Garth Brooks was taking off. But man, Nashville was not a boom town at the time. And I had to go, man, what did I just do? Did I make the right decision? Well, in the long run, I can say I did. Because being in Nashville was it's not as much of an ageism type place. LA wants you young, and they want you dumb, and they want you full of, well, we could argue that point. But, when you start getting 27 and 28 or 30, and you're out in Los Angeles and you haven't been able to make things happen, if you're an actor and you start getting long in the tooth and you're still out in Los Angeles, you got to wonder, what am I doing out here? Am I ever going to get a shot? Am I going to be a character actor in my old age? Am I going to be able to work here? You have to ask, those questions. Am I in the right place? Depending on what you want to do with your life and where you want to be and what your goals are, Your location is going to be a huge factor of consideration. And, like I said, moving to Nashville extended my career. It extended to where I was still playing gigs and still getting calls. At 58 years old, I was still able to hang with the young cats. And yeah, every now and then I'd get on a gig with some people younger than me, and they'd look at me like, "Oh, who's this old dude?" But I pretty soon shut them up as soon as I started playing. I never had that problem once they actually heard me. It would just be judging me by a haircut or my shoes or whatever, ridiculous thing that young people sometimes judge people on. But the reality is, you may be wondering, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? Is spending a lot of money on a college education, important? It is for some. It isn't for others. I think, and I learned pretty early on, my first year in college, and I was studying business, but I was getting a minor in jazz guitar. And I pretty soon realized when my teacher told my mom, well, he's smart, to study business because if he were to get a degree in jazz guitar, all that would do would get him a job, sweeping floors somewhere. And this is one of the professors telling me and my mother that. And I'm realizing, man, well, if that's the case, what am I even doing here? Why am I even here? And at that time, I was at a small college, Shenandoah University. It was college and conservatory, Shenandoah College and Conservatory. And it was in the middle of nowhere. Now, you had a lot of musicians there. There were a lot of music because it was a smaller college. It was easier to get into. They were happy to take your money. They had some good professors, and, it was a reasonable drive to DC. Maybe that's why you had people teaching there. I'm not sure, but, there were some good players that taught there, but it was in the middle of nowhere. There was like a mall kind of across the street, and the rest of the town, man, there was nothing there, man. There was a rough side of town that my screw-up roommate used to go down all the time. But, man, for the most part, dude, it was, I left after 1 year. One, because I wanted a normal college experience. Sometimes when you go to those music schools and it's just musicians, you forget what, everyday people like as far as music and what everyday people talk about and just being a normal person. I don't want to just hang around with musicians all the time. Now, I have a great time, hanging out with musicians, and now that I've realized that's my tribe. But, I grew up in a small town around people that didn't have any idea what being a musician was. There wasn't a ton of musicians. Everybody's kind of more everyday Joe kind of thing. But I knew that keeping my mind and my foot in that everyday world would keep me from getting too deep into the musician side and getting too accomplished or too virtuosic to be able to play music that people related to. Ultimately, if you're a musician, you're going to play music that people listen to. You could study and join an orchestra, although I could argue that, orchestras, who knows how much longer people are going to fund things like that. I don't know. But I know, the orchestras are having to do different things to bring people in. The Nashville Orchestra, in a big town with tons of musicians and lots of music, they had to start bringing in popular artists and adding them to the orchestra. As Rick Springfield in the Nashville Orchestra, nights like that to try to keep people coming in the seats. And they had to book private events, and they had to book other acts in the symphony hall just to keep the lights on and keep the symphony funded. So the reality is this, man. Are you where you need to be? That's a question that only really you can answer. But you know, there was a time in Nashville when things got slow. And I thought, man, maybe I need to go to Vegas. Maybe I need to move to Vegas. Would there be enough more work there? You know, I had been to Vegas. I had sat in with lounge bands playing in the casino lounges. And I had a guy, you know, when I sat in, he says, "Oh, you could work here. You could work here, man, if you ever moved to Vegas, you know." And I thought about it at one time. I hit a low point. I wasn't getting as many calls as I would have liked to have gotten. And I thought, man, maybe I need to move to Vegas. And I reached out to some people and I kind of looked at, you know, the price of apartments and I thought about it and all that. And ultimately, I didn't make that move. Things turned around. You know, sometimes you just have to wait where you're at. Sometimes you have to do better where you're at to make the phone ring, to get the work, to get, you know, make things happening. Sometimes you just need to change you. Sometimes you need to just change how you think internally. You know, it's a tough thing to look in the mirror and think, what can I do different? And not blame it. Oh, Nashville sucks. Or, oh, LA sucks. Or, oh, Vegas sucks. Or, oh, New York sucks. It's easy to blame it on a place and harder to place the blame on you. But you can, you know, no matter where you are, you know, you can make a place work. I am here now in a place where there's like a pizza shop down the street. I noticed they've got a duo playing this Friday, but I know it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be tons of people there. And I know it's not going to be, you know, just the most incredible musicianship and, you know, something that I could just go, that was incredible. I know they're just going to be playing some songs that people enjoy and you know, have a good time and all that. And, you know, that's perfectly okay. That's a gig. It's a gig, right? But there is not a lot of gigging opportunities in the area that I'm at right now. And that's why I'm making the best of the situation I'm at now, helping people online with YouTube, helping people be able to access their careers, you know, being able to analyze where they're at in life and wondering, should I go back to school? Should I take a new career? Should I try something different? You know, it never hurts to try something different, to wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm going to try something different today. I'm going to work on my Instagram, or I'm going to work on my Facebook, or I'm going to work on my YouTube, or I'm going to, you know, call this guy I've been meaning to call and ask about his company that he works for, or I'm going to, you know, try to look for a new gig today, or maybe I'll try doing something different. Sometimes you just have to be willing to change what you do. And it's not always your location. Sometimes the place that you need to be is just a different place in your head. Something to think about. Let me know what you think about in the comments.